He's back and clapping. The Prime Minister explained why he's so grateful when fronting the coronavirus press conference for the first time in a month.
I want to thank the NHS for so much, including getting me back here and, I might add, for a much happier hospital visit yesterday.
And lucky him, lucky us, he actually had some good news for once.
And so I can confirm today that for the first time we are past the peak of this disease. We're past the peak and we're on the downward slope.
Which means his ban on any public discussion of how the lockdown might be eased is over.
I will be setting out a comprehensive plan next week to explain how we can get our economy moving, one, how we can get our children back to school, back into childcare, second, and third, how we can travel to work and how we can make life in the workplace safer.
No hint on when that comprehensive plan will be put into practice, but there was a significant shift on how we might protect ourselves when we're with other people.
I do think that face coverings will be useful, both for epidemiological reasons, but also for giving people confidence that they can go back to work.
The national debt is rising by hundreds of billions of pounds, a record amount in peacetime. Prime Minister, how great a risk is there that when we are through this crisis, you will feel compelled to cut public services and move us back into a new era of austerity?
Well, you know what my instincts are, Robert. I think the economy will bounce back strongly. I think that this government will want to encourage that bounce back in all kinds of ways. But I've never particularly liked the term that you just used to describe government economic policy, and it's certainly not be part of our approach.
As for the numbers dying, the Prime Minister and his virtual cabinet, which met today, say it's too early to make comparisons with other countries, even though they publish a worrying international league table every day. You spoke to the Prime Minister yesterday. Did you raise with him the data that appears to show that our outbreak and our death rate is as bad, if not worse, than any other country in Europe?
Well, I've raised that publicly, and it's a real cause for concern because the government's advisors 6 weeks ago were saying that the hope or what success might look like would be to keep the tragic number below 20,000. We now know that it's already 26 or 27,000 and we're only halfway through.
Reasons to be grateful to the NHS, quite as many for him as for the rest of us.
And all carers and Captain Cobb.
And if he means what he says about no future public spending cuts, maybe one day the NHS will thank him.
And Robert joins me now, of course. The PM clearly saying we're past the peak today, but listening to the whole press conference, I rather got the impression that we're not looking at any early end to the lockdown. What was your own impression? Is that right, do you think?
So my understanding of the plan is this, that we will get a comprehensive proposal next week for some easing modifications of the lockdown, and Prime Minister chose his words very carefully today. He talked about getting people back to work, he talked about improving transport, and he talked about getting young people back into schools. Now, I don't expect any of that to happen next Thursday, May the 7th, which is the formal date for the review of the lockdown measures. I think possibly then we will get an announcement that encourages construction to start up a bit more and to remove some of the restrictions on our ability to exercise outside. I think, you know, the once-a-day exercising rule may be replaced with something a bit more flexible. I think people may say, I think the government may say, as long as people behave in a responsible way, they can go back into parks. But I do think that we will get some detail on what businesses have to do so that their employees can be safe at work. So, you know, more washing facilities, more, sort of hand sanitizer around the place, a stipulation that people have to work at least 2 meters away from each other. Now, getting transport going again is harder, particularly for something like the London Underground. Keeping people apart on the London Underground will be difficult. So but there will be sort of announcements about the kind of way that's going to happen. And then finally, when it comes to young people, I don't expect young people to go back to school immediately. I do think, however, we will see movement towards some schools for reopening perhaps after half term. But it is very difficult, particularly with the youngest kids, to make sure that they socially distance. This is all very complicated stuff.